Well, I hiked out to this canyon area that I've hunted for a few years and figured I'd bring the camera out and talk about some of my different strategies that I've come up with for hunting in these deep ravines and rugged terrain. Anybody who's done it knows at how notorious these places are for spooking deer with swirling winds and unpredictable winds. But it's not impossible to do it. It's just very difficult. I'm still learning. I learn something new every year doing it. But yeah, I figured I'd bring the camera out and bring you along and talk about some of the tricks that I've figured out over the past few years. Yeah, this thing's huge. There's probably 100-foot drop behind me there. It goes straight down. Super steep grade. But yeah, I'm gonna hike down there, scout out these trees, and yeah, see how it goes. Now, first off, proper footwear is important if you're climbing into these ravines. I just wore tennis shoes just to be lightweight because it's about 100 degrees out here right now. Well, first off, walking down here, there's these trails that at every level, it seems like every 10, 20 feet going down these embankments that ride the edge of the cliffs and on the sides of the ravines, there's a deer trail, and they make their own little terraces on their way down. And these things are important to follow because they change every year. Trees will fall over on them and stuff, and deer will adjust to get around them. But it's important to get in and figure out where those trails are going and how they're using them, how often, because depending on your wind, that will determine whether you want to be above or below these little trails. Okay, so the first thing that I'm looking for whenever I'm scouting out these ravines is a trail like this. It's coming down from the top. That's their primary access. It's not a traditional saddle, which would be easier to find in like the hill country, but there's steep bluffs on the other side of this. There's not a saddle. They're just coming down from here. This is their access point to water. So late in the evening, or sometime around now, I'm sure they'll start making their way down this trail to come get water. And these are very ideal because I can get on the adjacent side where there's all this steep bluff and everything, and the deer won't be moving, and I can hunt this trail while they're coming up and down. So I'm gonna climb up over on the other side and see if there's anything within range of this trail. I also wanted to note that all on this side of the canyonway, there's all these switchbacks and stuff that come down. I don't know if you can see them, but they all come to this one little low point and meet up right here where I'm standing and go to water from here. Little bonus too is that right here at the bottom, there's locust pods, which the deer like to eat during the hard winter once everything has died off. See little seeds inside of here that they like to dig out. They can just eat on all this fiber. I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, well, I got my water source back here, got trails right up over here and here. My best bet would be to be over here somewhere on this edge. Problem is, as you can see, there's no good hunting trees up there. So I could set up on the ground. Well, my problem with sitting on the ground is that if I'm going to be there for hours, it gets extremely uncomfortable and I start getting fidgety. And Lord knows that as soon as I start getting fidgety, that's when the deer will show up. So I prefer to be in a tree where I can sit and move around a little bit silently. But I don't have a whole lot of options up there. I'm going to look around a little bit more here. I'm going to walk further up into the canyon, not far, maybe 50 yards. See if I can find anything a little bit better set up in. Yeah, I think I may have found the tree that I'm gonna set up in. This big old elm tree right here. I'm gonna get up into it and show you what it looks like from up there, and talk about why I would set up here and how the thermals and wind work in these little areas. Okay, so I got 3 sticks set up in this tree, and I feel like 3 high is as high as I need to go. Higher and always better. I've found that you get up way up high up there, and the tops of all these other trees underneath me are going to block any shot that I would be able to take on things down here. So yeah, I'm just gonna get up to there. I think someone else has hunted this before. It looked like some of the stuff may have been trimmed years ago, but yeah, I'm gonna climb up there real quick with the camera and show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is what I've got. I'll put my platform about this high up on the tree, and it'll have this view. Of this bottom here, and that heavy trail is right up in here. On the other side of the tree, I'll have a perfect shot right in that gap of anything trying to come down that trail. And part of the reason why I'm down here and not higher up at the head of that trail where it comes down is because of the way the thermals work in these canyons. I have found that you either gotta hunt at the top in a tall tree up there, or we gotta hunt at the very bottom. And reason being is because the evening times, the thermals are pulling down. All that cool air is pulling into the head of the canyon and pushing out towards the mouth. It's going down. And what the deer will do is they'll walk, or they'll come down from the top in the evening and do their very best to try to scent check anything that's going on in that canyon. They'll stay on the upper third or as high as possible on that canyon and just look down into the bottom as long as they can. Now, if it's a pretty remote area like this, low pressure, they're not going to hang up there for very long. But I've found that if there's any pressure at all, they really like to stand up there and just wait and look. And they can take a long time to get down to the bottom. But this is the only way to do it. If there's any wind at all, also, if there's any wind, like this evening, you can hear how quiet it is here. There is no wind at all. It's a perfect evening. I wish it was deer season. Otherwise, I just set up right here and hunt away. But just heard something crash up there. It's probably deer coming down. Anyways, yeah, the thermals and the wind is the most important thing to be mindful of when you're hunting in a canyon or a deep ravine. Get into the very bottom in the evening. If you're going to hunt it in the morning, get up into the top of the canyon because your thermals are going to be pulling up. At the top, when your thermals are pulling up, you want them to pull up and either out to an open pasture, out to a field, or into a thicket, somewhere where deer aren't going to be. You don't want your thermals pulling into where they're going to be at. But there really is no in-between that I have found. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it differs from place to place, but if you try to set up right in the middle of the slope, right in the middle of a canyonway, they're going to find you every time. They're going to smell you, they're going to see you, something's going to happen, and they're going to find you and spook out. But I've hunted in the very bottom of these canyons and had deer walk within 15 yards of me and never smell me. It's just a matter of paying attention where your thermals are pulling, where your scent is going, as always. That is, I think, the trickiest part about hunting in a canyon, hunting in any kind of steep terrain, is dealing with the wind. Again, to reiterate, if there's wind at all, I'm not in here hunting because it's going to swirl and it's gonna hit everything in this entire canyon, and I will be blown out. There's just no hiding from it. So I would not recommend, I don't think anywhere, trying to hunt in a canyon or a ravine while the wind is blowing. Another thing that I have taken note of over the years is the deer don't move in the very bottom of a canyon. Normally they're all dug out from some kind of a water source, rain flushing out, a ravine. And that's what makes these canyons that I'm in. They're little streams that flow in the bottom in the spring and winter time. But yeah, the deer don't walk down there. I've never found a trail. I've never found any sign of them walking in the very bottom of the ravine. They'll cut across it real fast in order to get to the other side, like they do in saddles, but they don't just walk down the bottom, even though it's the path of least resistance. It seems like they ought to, but they know better. They feel vulnerable, and they are vulnerable down there. It's easy for any kind of predator on the sides to see them and have them pinned. So, yeah, that's just, don't expect to ever see deer walking in the very bottom. One last thing I was going to go over before I get out of here is knowing what the deer are using the canyon that you're hunting for. Are they using it to get access to water? Are they using it to get access to food? Are they using it to get from one bedding area to another? This is going to help you determine exactly what time of day to get into your hunting spot in a canyon. In my case, they're using this area to go down to water, so it's perfect for the evening. I'm down low. This tree that I'm in right now, I'm down low in the bottom of the canyon here, and they're not going to walk this very bottom area. They're going to come down from the trail adjacent from me, 25 yards away, a perfect shot, on their way over to get water. Now, if they're coming down here to get to a different bedding area, I'll probably back up the ravine a little ways, because they're going to come down and they're going to go back up a little ways in order to find access to get up to the top, because there's just bluffs all behind me here. So yeah, if they're going from bedding to bedding, if they're going to a food source, it's gonna differ. They may not go straight down to the mouth of the ravine or canyon. Yeah, just know what they're using it for. It's gonna help out a lot. Yeah, hopefully you'll get to see a couple of videos of me hunting out of this tree here in a few weeks. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get on down and mark this spot on my map for an area to hunt. Before it gets too dark, I want to show you, I set up a preset line on this tree. It's a piece of nylon cord, and I run it all the way up to the top where I'm going to hang up at. That way, whenever I come back in here, I can just SRT climb. I can just tie my rope off to that and pull it up and around. And it's an easy way to get up into the tree quickly, so I'm not having to throw a sandbag or something up in the tree if I'm trying to SRT climb up into the tree to hunt. So yeah, that's a little trick that I do as well. I'll cut it out before the end of the season. That way I'm not leaving a bunch of trash out in the woods. But yeah, might try that. Anyways, thanks for watching.